Hi, I'm Chaplain William Johnson from the Spiritual Care Department here at Christian Hospital for our Monday morning meditation. As always, I'm very grateful and thankful for the privilege of sharing these words and perhaps messages of inspiration and encouragement to our entire hospital system, but also, more importantly, to our hospital family here at Christian. We are so grateful for the privilege of doing so with the help of our administration and that's dedicated to not only the care of our patients and our community, but the support of our staff who work so diligently to make this place what it is. Thank you all so very much. This morning's meditation is entitled Something in Common. Something in Common. It is remarkable to me that in our lives and on our journey that we discover so much about what it is that we are from other people. Many of us, most of us, feel as if we are on this trajectory, living our lives by ourselves, struggling with our concerns, raising our families if we have children, caring for loved ones that are around us, or trying to navigate as an individual who's trying to make our way in the world. Whatever it is, we often find ourselves feeling isolated and alone. But the gift of journeying and keeping an observing eye is to notice from time to time that we come across others on the path and to discover in amazement that they have experienced some of the same things we have experienced. They've had to endure some of the same things we've endured, and they've struggled with some similar situations that we've had to struggle with. It's amazing to me to meet people along the way who know what it's like to suffer or struggle or to laugh or to feel what we feel. I am approaching my 52nd birthday, and there's nothing like running into people or encountering people who are in their 50s at this point in their lives, who have raised their children and now looking after and caring for parents and others who mean something to them. And to be at this very fine place to know that what I'm experiencing, they're experiencing, let alone to discover ourselves trying to stay in shape and trying to work out and trying to do all the things that those of us who find ourselves in this category may feel. But it's not just me. There are others at different times in my life, as you have had in yours, raising children or trying to go to the first day of school or going to college or graduating from college or looking for your first job or discovering your first disappointment or having your first broken heart. All those things that you've experienced in life, it is an odd thing, but a gift to run across and come across other people who have had similar experiences. The truth is that while we are having these experiences and others, we share these things in common, it is important to remember and remind ourselves that our stories are our stories, unique as they are, and their stories are their stories, unique as they are. And even though we may meet at the intersection of life, we find that in that intersection, a moment of time of sharing our stories, that place is called common ground. I never really understood what common ground was until you discover that we leave our various places of departure only to find ourselves at an intersection where we meet other people on common ground, no matter what race or gender or what background, whether rich or poor, or whether they are rural or from the city or from an urban metropolitan area. All of us have points where we meet on common ground. And in those moments in which we meet on common ground, I call those sacred moments for us to share and to reflect that although we may come from different places, we have somehow met in the same location. I believe that is a gift from God. I really do. Even if those moments make us uncomfortable. And many of us don't want to meet on common ground for various and sundry reasons, but I'll offer three. To meet on common ground or to be in the place where we are in this common place, many people avoid those places because we're afraid that if we struggle to show up really as we are, we may meet with some conflict, some challenges, and have to really come across some change. I said three things: conflict, challenges, and change. Often when we meet on common ground, we would rather meet there but never be challenged. And the idea of an intersection and meeting on common ground means that inherently rather, there we will find ourselves challenged, challenging our preconception, challenging our ideas about what should be done, challenging our understanding about right or wrong. Challenge is a part of that. And so because we feel challenged, we often avoid those places where we can meet on common ground, whether racially or with gender or with different ideas or different philosophies. And we are dealing with a world, and dare I say, a country and community that seems to be at odds because we dare not meet on common ground. It challenges us. And those challenges often bring us to the point of conflict. To be in a place of conflict, to not avoid conflict, to not be afraid of conflict means that we're able to show up and be changed by the experience. Conflict often pushes us beyond the places where we would want to be, pushes us beyond our normal, comfortable places, moves us to a place where when we think we are right all the time, we are not always right. And in fact, we discover a lot more about ourselves in conflict than we ever would alone. Conflict tests us, calls for us to actually stand up and engage what we think we believe versus what we really do believe. Often our faith traditions have called us to not be afraid of conflict. It's a strange thing to see people move into their respective corners and fight for the right, or who's more important or who's better in their own faith walk or faith journey or faith tradition. The truth is, every faith tradition calls for us to not only be challenged, but to also meet with conflict. Like every good story that has a good plot, conflict is a part of that story. And without conflict, you can't be sure that what you think you're sure of is actually real. So conflict tests those things. If you want to know whether or not you are in love with your spouse or your mate, a little conflict will test that thing and let you discover whether or not it's real or not. If you want to know what it means to be a good parent and try to love your children, some conflict every now and then when they push back against your ideals or what it is you think is important or your rules or your values, and they try to establish their own. It's important to know that that conflict is the shaping of what it is that's going to make them great and make you a better person. Conflict in an institution often gives that institution the ability to live beyond what it is that it thought it could, to move beyond the barriers or beyond the areas of its current success and to grow. Conflict causes us to grow. Well, that conflict and growth leads to finally change. Change. I can safely say that I certainly am not the person I was 20 years ago. In truth, I wasn't the person I was 20 months ago. Yeah, 20 weeks ago or 20 days ago, because I met with some challenge and met with some conflict that moved me to change. I used to say, and I still do believe it's true, that we are never really motivated to change until what it is that we think we have proves to be no longer viable. And when what we need to have is the only option that we can take. It is important to know that when we are moved to change, change is one of those things that is transformative by definition, but it also breeds the ability for us to really show up as our real selves. Change is not real change if you never show up as your real self in the first place. We can give lip service to being different, whether it be racially, socially, uh, economically, but really, when change calls us to be a different person, it changes our habits, changes our thought process, changes everything. So I'm on this journey trying to lose weight. Can you believe it? After my COVID 30, not COVID 15, not COVID 19 or 20, COVID 30, those pounds that I put on during the pandemic. And I realized that something has to change in order for me to be a different person than I've become now, to be healthier and stronger and have a different mind. So I have to say so long to the late night ice cream trips to my refrigerator. I have to say goodbye to some of the things about not wanting to get up and work out when it's time, because change is hard, but sometimes change is necessary. Most of us would not have had this virtual Monday morning meditation if it had not been for the forced challenge of the pandemic, the forced conflict that came within to be able to reach those who really needed support, and the forced change that has brought about this medium for us to communicate. Well, we don't know how long it will last and what we will do, but we do know that we've been forever changed by the circumstances of our lives. So I encourage you, as you journey on through the course of your day, in the course of the week, embrace common ground. You may meet people in the hallway or on your job or even in the supermarket or in your home. And don't be afraid of having some conflict that is respectful. Don't be afraid of being challenged and or challenging other people about their thoughts and perceptions and understandings of things. Not judgment, but just challenge to make sure that people are clearly saying what it is that they believe, and that you are clearly saying and articulating what it is that you believe. But then be willing to change. I want to do and want to be and want to act in different ways. Yes, it is important to be able to be in a place of change. Well, how do I know that? Well, here's how I know it. There's a story, all preachers have good stories at the end. And there's a story of a father trying to teach a lesson to his son. And so they went out for a little walk in the nearby woods, and there they saw crawling along slowly on a leaf, a caterpillar. And the son saw the creepy crawly thing, and he did not want to leave it alone, but he liked the creepy crawly thing. It was cute to him, but it was not really cute. But to him, it was a cute, creepy, crawly thing. And his father said, well, just wait long enough, and that caterpillar will sure enough change. Well, they started making trips, going out again and again and again, and watching the caterpillar moving slowly on the leaves, never really giving any signs of change. Until one day, when they went out, they discovered that the caterpillar was no longer there. But instead of seeing the caterpillar, there, the young man with his father saw a butterfly flitting around in the woods. And there, the father said, you may not notice what happened, but change took place. Well, I say to you that you keep doing what you're doing, eventually change will take place. And others may not know or recognize the you that you become, as long as you're willing to endure challenge and endure conflict. The change will be for the better. Thank you so much for your time today. I want you to know that being on common ground is an important place to be, because it calls for us to experience this transformational moment in our lives, to be in conflict, to be challenged, and yes, to change. We are in a nation that would not be what it is if we had not had conflict, had not been challenged, and have not been moved to change. And so am I, and so are you, at this very important intersection of common ground, where people of different races, different backgrounds, different genders are now at a sea change in our world, asking, what should we do? Don't run from the conflict. Don't run from the challenge, but be willing to change. Have a great day. We always say to you at the end or at some point, just know that these words of encouragement and inspiration are for you. Why? Because you are loved, you are appreciated, and you are irreplaceable. Thank you so much for giving us your time.